cockatrice.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 2nd of June 2019. I'm your host Dan Train. Join me today, Zachary Burgess.
Yes, I said cockatrice.
And indeed, Robert Kemp.
I'm a bird!
Well, you're partially a bird, I guess.
I'm partially a bird! We had this, sort of, I don't know, it's the dumbest, running joke in the world, but it was after the run I did Friday night. And so
running joke.
Yeah, well, yeah. but it's not a running
kind.
joke. It didn't run for very long. It ran for a car journey. That sort of length of joke. And we had that moment that seems to be very common this year, where a flock of birds decided to land in front of the car as we were approaching them, rather than flying away from the car. Didn't hit any of them, but you brake and you stop and you go, why did? It's happened several times to me, and it happened while I was getting a lift as well. We just mentioned it, and it's like, why are the birds all so dumb this year? And then for some reason, and apologies to the West Country, that then meant we were doing bird impressions in the West Country accent, just being like, I'm a bird.
Okay.
Is that where they're coming from? The West?
I guess. Maybe. No, why would you sit there? Why would you do that? Oh, you don't know I'm a bird!
What is it about the West Country accent that suits boys?
Nothing at all. I
Nothing at all.
I don't think it's suiting the birds, it's more suiting dumbness. That was the
Oh, that was the apology
generic
part,
podcast
was it?
racism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was happening.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. It's a shame. We were associating stupidity with the West Country for some reason.
It's not like a thick Suffolk accent sounds that different.
No, they're not. They're actually really close.
Pretty close.
So I could have said not the West Country. I could have said Suffolk, and then be like, "It's fine. I'm from Suffolk."
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's
how
really.
not racism works. Right?
Born and bred. Whatever
I'm
that
a
means.
bird. So yeah, there's that. So what's a cockatrice like mixed with? I only really remember them from Final Fantasy and being like pretty much a chicken.
It's like a bird lizard, right? That's normally what they are, I think.
Oh, like those greasel things.
Kinda, yeah.
In
bigger.
Deus Ex.
I think. And
They're based
less
on a
plasma spitting.
Yeah, they're based on some kind of Mexican cryptid, aren't they? The greasels. Like, is that right?
Maybe. They're based on that dinosaur, though, right? I can't remember don't even know how to pronounce it. The one that has it starts with an A and it has a bunch of X's in it, or whatever. It's like a small
Archaeopteryx?
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. It's that one that's like a small raptor, but it also has wings on its arms. There's a Pokemon based on it as well.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
What's the Pokemon called?
I don't remember.
Dino
For a change, I don't remember the exact name of that Pokemon. It wasn't a good. It was a bad Pokemon,
Okay.
mainly because one of its traits was one of the dumb traits that just makes it bad. I don't remember. It was like if it gets hit,
Did it have a West Country accent?
It was something dumb like if it falls below 50% health, it just loses all of its attack power.
Wow,
It just sucked.
That's kind of makes it. Well, I suppose Pokemon normally resorts to one hitting everything. Right?
Yeah, usually.
So they wouldn't have made too much difference.
Yeah, it was like you had to have it just be at the start of your party and just have it do the first strike, and then as soon as it takes any damage, just swap it out.
Get it out. Yeah. Glass cannon approach, but not
by dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also had bad stats anyway, so even losing its stats made it just that much worse on top of its already terrible stats.
Not every Pokemon can be a fighter.
No.
Not everyone. I mean, it's kind of the nature of it, right? Like they have to have some bad Pokemon now. Like this, they fleshed out their world so much. They have to have just some Panzymon in there somewhere.
I don't know if they...
What, that no one wants in their team? Like Magikarp style?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of Pokemon that are kind of like that, but I don't think that they need to have them be explicitly, gimped by specific abilities that are very specifically designed to fuck them up. Just make them have generally bad stats. Don't make them just have have a thing that's just this is the fuck you thing that we've just applied to this Pokemon to make it explicitly bad, not just generically bad.
They could have moves like Splash,
Splash,
some bird could just have Waft or something.
Well, I guess that the trade-off with Magikarp was that Magikarp's
You
useless. But it
eventually
turns
get a
into,
good thing out of it.
yeah, it evolves into something ridiculous. So you could just do that.
But it wasn't really a trade-off. It was more just like an inconvenience. Like, you couldn't actually use Magikarp. You just had to give it XP for a while until it became the thing that was actually useful.
Yeah. But you could do that with other Pokemon.
Yeah, but that's just kind of the same thing. It's just making something that's entirely useless.
Yep. You're looking for something only slightly useless.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted... The thing about, like, with Magikarp in particular is that, like, there was... before it gets tackle, I guess, there's a point where it literally can't do anything and it can only succeed by sharing XP. And you have to grind through that phase. That's you shouldn't do that. You should at least give every Pokemon some capability to potentially earn its own XP.
I didn't even realise Magikarp got tackle. I thought it only ever had splash.
No, it does get tackle eventually. Like halfway through the level grind.
What was the pointless fish that was in the first Smash Brothers?
Goldeen.
Yeah.
I mean, that has actual moves in the game.
Yeah. I miss Goldeen coming out of a Pokeball in Smash. Like, I just want it to randomly shout, Goldeen, Goldeen.
Does it not still exist in Ultimate?
I don't think so. It's been a very long time since I've seen a Pokemon do nothing but have something vaguely damaging in it.
I don't know. I'm not sure it doesn't exist. Inconclusive.
I haven't seen Bonsai in Ultimate, I don't think.
No, I don't think that one does. I'm pretty sure I would have seen that by now. Pick up its heavy ass.
I don't know if I've even seen Wobbuffet. They've taken quite a lot out.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they did take out some of them. But Wobbuffet is just replaced by the spiky rock thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that's called.
Yeah,
from some move.
Don't know what that is. But, now it doesn't go, wah, Wobbuffet.
No, it doesn't.
Always helps a scenario, any scenario.
Clearly.
Just throw a Wobbuffet in it. Happy times. Are they like that in the actual game? Like just like giant boxing pummel bags?
Well, in the actual game, they basically only had counter moves.
Right. Okay. So that kind of makes sense.
That's why they act like that in Smash Bros.
Okay. That actually does make sense. Well done, corporate synergy. Brand synergy. Some kind of synergy. Let's synergize this podcast.
Well, let's conveniently synergize this Pokemon discussion into news, I guess, about Pokemon.
We got into games pretty quick. How's everyone doing?
Oh, okay. Just no segue.
No, it's just such a segue.
Not so bad.
Talk about some terrible stuff that I did this week. Well, not really did.
Terrible. I did terrible things.
What terrible things have you been up to?
Less than terrible things that I did and more terrible things that happened. Which was
that sounds less fun.
No, yeah, not nearly as well. This whole story is done anyway. So
does it have a West Country pigeon?
Maybe. No. I was thinking about a West Country accent. Maybe not a pigeon. There might have been a West Country accent because what was happening was I was playing a sound file on my computer, and because I didn't want to, because the classic problem, you don't want it to accidentally enqueue into Winamp.
Right.
Because that'll fuck up your playlist. And you don't want to open Windows Media Player because that is a piece of shit.
So you use VLC, right?
So I was like, yeah, I will play it in VLC. But then once I finished playing the file, I accidentally clicked on like just the My Music link in VLC and it started playing My Music library. And because like quite a few years ago at this point, I stripped out my Winamp playlist to be less dumb. I was like, oh shit, this is just playing all the music that I've still got on my computer. Let's just let this go and enjoy the terrible nostalgia of all the bullshit music I have on my system, which is like
yeah, I want to know what your definition of this is.
Well, first of all, you've got my shit, which is categorically bullshit to start with. Anything that I've downloaded, clearly terrible.
You mean Grapefruit Bat?
Yeah, clearly.
That's all right.
And then you've got well, I mean, obviously there's like the smatterings of the more recent stuff, but not that much because it's not like I listen to anything current and I don't get stuff off you any longer. Which means what it actually is like 75% Rob's emo phase and 25% jazz from Dan.
Jazz?
25% jazz.
Well,
I didn't have a jazz. I didn't have a jazz phase. Maybe I did, but it's more recent.
I mean, it's not exactly jazz, is it? It's just like all the classics.
all the classics. What you
I know,
mean?
I don't even know.
Yeah,
And then,
Dave
and then
Brubeck,
some more Dave
basically.
Brubeck.
Yeah, that.
Oh, Dave Brubeck. Oh, okay.
And some other
Fair enough.
slightly
That's
more
my jazz face.
esoteric stuff. But yeah, listening to the terrible shit that I'd like stripped out of my Win Up playlist ages ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I can listen to all of this real crap.
Shut up. Don't call like Dave Brubeck better not be included in that.
No, I guess it's fine.
Brubeck.
But also, the secondary feature of these ancient files is they're ancient files, so it's also like variable in quality and
Oh yeah,
legality.
that is the yes.
128 kilobytes per second.
Yeah, there's definitely some older files in my collection that are you can really hear this fuzz around like the frequency tables of old MP3 encoding. Not great.
And then, of course, you find the occasional thing where it's just like, this is something we downloaded from Kazaa, and who knows where this came from? What is this song even?
Yeah, there's definitely some ones where it's just like, I don't know what, this isn't even labeled right.
No. Or stuff that was like, just comedy, you know. How many... I think I have...
The Say No to Broccoli song.
I think I potentially have 3 different songs that are remixes of Eminem... My name is with various.
Are you including the Sonic one in that?
The Sonic one, yeah.
I'm Dr. Eggman.
There's the one where it just splices Timmy from South Park over it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Really badly. It was like something I would have made.
Yeah, it's not great.
Well, you did make the United States of Unfunny.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Although that's not in there for some reason.
You haven't got the United States of Unfunny?
Not in that specific folder it was playing.
Oh, okay.
I'm
But
sure it's
there
still
was-
there somewhere.
There was a very unfunny bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it.
But yeah, that was ridiculous. I listened to everything
you
that
have
was
the-
in that folder.
Stephen Hawking Quakemaster.
Yep, that was right at the end of the list.
Quite important.
That is quite important.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's like, I was kind of sad about listening to that.
Yeah.
About him being a Quakemaster in the 90s.
You say impressive.
I already know this. Yeah.
PhD in pain and a master's in disaster.
Top story, Zach.
Yep, that was my anecdote of the week. Listening to terrible fucking music in terrible quality.
I bet a lot of it was actually quite enjoyable in a sort of backwards way.
Sure, but like it's like the reason it's not in my default without playlist any longer is because because at the time I listened to all that music so many goddamn times over that I was just like, I'm done with this. And for a lot of those tracks.
I think
So I stripped out the ones that I was like, I don't like this enough to continuously listen to it. Which actually stripped out a large quantity of that folder, it turns out.
Are you guys finding just generally that nostalgia rising on occasion? Like a bit more than it used to?
Now we have an increased
Nostalgia.
pool of things to be nostalgic about.
Yeah.
As the years go by, you get a whole other extra year of nostalgia.
That's what it's like being old. It's all back in the
Yep.
day. Oh, back in the
Well,
day. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and I don't just have the back in the day and the old nostalgia thing. I genuinely have that old man thing where I believe music was better.
Yeah. Sure.
But it was better. That's what everyone says,
Yeah.
right? It's like that joke in The Simpsons, right?
But it
with
actually,
Grandpa.
but it really was. We're just permanently going downhill.
I mean, it's definitely not good at the moment. Even like,
thing is
even like my
I'm-
more recent like hip hop phase or whatever, like that stuff doesn't seem as good as it was 5 years ago. I don't know what's
No.
going on.
No, I'm with you there for sure. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't think, or maybe it's just like that modern music just really doesn't age very well, or that because there's so much more of it that it doesn't feel like there's any real standout classic bangers.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something really weird where like the fact that they no longer have to care so much about radio is making everyone not configure their songs to be radio friendly, and it's actually just worse that way.
Oh no, I actually think most music is more formulaic than ever. I think it's gone the other way.
You know, I was listening to Adam Buxton's podcast again the other day, and he's in his like 50s now or whatever, and he was
so do
saying
you
how
mean, do you mean radio friendly in terms of swearing? Sorry, like
Well, I just meant-
so the entire
Well, it had like
song's
levels
blank.
and everything.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
He was saying how, like, when he was growing up, like, he loved everything that was in the charts, and he has quite good music taste. But at the time, it was like the 80s, and yeah, it's like there was a lot of good stuff in the charts at that point, and like I could understand that, like loving everything that was in the charts at the time. But that never happened to me. Well, I know there's probably some crap, but that happened to me. And you could kind of see, looking back, if I'd been young in the 80s or at that time when it was like soft sell or whatever, I would probably have been really into what was in the charts. But I never had that because it just was never. Well, no, it had already passed that point.
I guess we had the phase of boy bands and like
exactly.
Well, we had far too much Spice Girls and nonsense. Yeah,
there was a short period after the boy bands and Spice Girls phase that it was okay.
Not really.
Sure. I mean, there was the rise of it, like indie, and when I got into, I still quite like a bit of terrible new metal. It's got to be said. Like,
probably because we were the right age or whatever.
Yeah,
I wasn't that into that. I mean.
I know you weren't, but I can go back to some Lincoln. I can still listen to the odd bit of, I've forgotten what they're even called, but Rollin' Limp Bizkit. That's it.
Limp Bizkit, yeah, classic.
Yeah, I listened to all of that because that was in that folder as well.
No, you didn't, did you?
Well, there's not that much. I think I've only got a partial amount of how much Rob has.
Oh my god.
There was that sort of middle-aged Metallica phase that was all right.
And before
they got really bad,
during the boy band and Spice Girls phase,
Britpop did make an impact, right?
Yeah,
when we were like 10, it was like Blur and Oasis in the charts a little bit,
and mixed in with that, there was also we were young enough to like the dumb things like Cotton Eye Joe and stuff like that.
Yeah, dumb shit
at the time.
And the Tetris song, and
the Mario
Land,
and fucking Barbie Girl, and Blue Aberdeen Ever Die.
I think collectively we drew a line at Barbie Girl.
I think so. Probably.
We were listening to some bad shit, I think. When we
How bizarre.
Real kids.
How bizarre.
Oh, no.
And I, for some reason, had, in that time skip period of, like, being far too young, I had, like, rave CDs.
I mean, yeah, you got ahead of the curve you got the head of the curve on us on the Prodigy.
Kind of, but that was from my parents.
Yeah, but still.
That was not necessarily due to my own discovering it or anything.
I mean, yeah,
they had that one CD.
That one CD from '94, I think.
What did they have?
Like, didn't it have like Snoop Dogg on it as well? Like, what's my name?
Maybe. I don't remember.
You had one disc with that on. You had some early Sash, I think, on some CD somewhere. There was. I'm trying to think what else you had. You had. Was it? Who's the did Baby, I'm Ready to Go, and that stuff.
No, not Metallica. It's the similar.
It's a something isn't it? Yeah. Them. You had a disc with them on.
Yeah, but that would have been like a Now CD, right?
It might have been. Or the Musical Biscuits.
Yes, the Musical Biscuit. Gonna give you two like this.
Sounds of the Wickedness, wasn't it? That was it. These are the sounds of the wickedness. Musical Biscuits.
Anyway, I prompted all that nostalgia.
but yes,
sorry about that.
It does kick in. The majority of my music that I listen to is that way inclined these days. And when I'm not leaving Spotify on the discovery list,
but how does that even work? If that's all you listen to, how does it work?
Badly, as it turns out.
Yeah, it presumably it influences itself, and then it's like a weird echo chamber.
Well, kinda. It means anything I specifically search out and find, which isn't a lot. So I looked up Courtney Pine, the saxophonist. On there a while back because he was one of the sitters on Portrait Artist of the Year on Sky Arts.
Right. Okay. But now you've got nothing
I've got into for some reason.
Nothing but jazz saxophone.
And don't get me wrong, he's quite good, but some of his stuff sounds a bit like. Well, I've started building a sandwich making playlist on my Spotify for stuff that sounds like Morty Vicker. And some Cal Funk, and Courtney Pine's got some stuff that can go in that list quite well. So now, because I looked up here, at the moment my discovery list is kind of filled with sandwich making jazz,
right?
which is kind of okay.
Which you're discovering.
Don't mind it too much, but every now and then it throws in something that's so utterly bizarre, and I don't like. And I'm like, just why? So occasionally I refer to Gnome as hot sauce. Right.
Okay. So
I might have,
yeah.
so I might have ruined this a little bit now because the song came up on my discovery list called Hot Sauce, and it's so bad. It's that weird sort of, I guess, late 80s cheese odd. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just that there's a sort of pop that's just very odd where they just like saying things. Like, do you know the song where they sort of like, it blinded me with science?
Mm-hmm.
Science! It's a little bit like that. It's just like they're singing about hot sauce and it being twice as spicy.
Okay.
It's extra nicey.
Good rhymes is what we're saying.
Yeah, it's atrocious. But now I can't stop saying it.
Yes, naturally.
So it does occasionally ruin things. I'm surprised actually Spotify doesn't have more bass in it than like my discovery list than it does, because one of the first things I did was seek out Savant and Chemical Brothers and some Skrillex, of course, and hunt down those and add them to my list and things like that. But they've never come up. Oh, the Just Shapes and Beats OST, things like that. It's like you can listen to all of those, and then like those never come up. I'm wondering what this week's will be, because I listened to Billie Eilish this week, so maybe I'll get emo teenager girl music. But Billie Eilish is all right. Eilish, not Irish.
Billie Eilish, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's some good new music.
Yeah. Although, because she was on, I caught a bit of, like, when I was channel hopping, she happened to be doing, she did Big Weekend for Radio 1. And, yeah, not a great live performance, because she sings very, very quietly. She's got super, super soft voice, and the whole thing is being creepy and like in a ghost house kind of thing. And of course, you've got someone shoving a microphone into her face, and you can't really hear her because of the way she does it. And so it's just like, and the crowd's going, yeah, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know what's going on. It's kind of bad, but good to listen on its own. Anyway, music.
Yep, that's the music section, I guess. News. We go back to Pokemon.
Well, we have to. Wait, you haven't tried my new kettle, have you? So.
Oh no, I haven't.
It fits into Zach's bad category, so tune in next time.
Oh really?
Did you buy the same thing?
No,
no, it's not. It's not the same one.
No.
It's not the same one. So we'll have to see how you cope. It's more jug-like.
Okay, well that's somewhat of an improvement, I guess. Hopefully.
Still bright red and metal, though.
Mm.
Next time, kitchen bitchin', where Zach can bitch about my kitchen.
Yep.
News. What's going on in the world of video games?
Pokemon. Briefly, I wanted to. Again, this was another
one
one of
with
those
Pokemon
things where I was trying to remember the news of the week that happened that I forgot, because I always do. There's always like some other bit of news comes in and overwrites the news, and I'm like, I don't remember this other bit of news.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. It pushes out what you thought was the important news.
Yeah, but the Pokemon. We're getting a Pokemon Direct next week, or this week, I guess.
3 days
before
time.
E3,
Yeah.
Which means probably they're going to mainly show Animal Crossing at Nintendo's E3 Direct, presumably, if they're getting ahead of it on Pokemon. But the other thing that happened related to Pokemon was earlier this week, I think, or it might have been last week. They were doing the Pokemon Company were doing their own. I guess it was sort of an investor conference, but not really, because it wasn't like numbers or anything. It was still like, here's what we're making in terms of games, but it was sort of, I don't know, talking about their business strategy, kind of, except not that much. But it seemed to be focused kind of towards China, because they were doing Japanese, Chinese, and English in terms of like voiceovers, going through all three. It was just like, wow, this is kind of excessive. But they talked about some of their new bullshit that they're making. And the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because it's kind of funny. Firstly, the first one is that it's kind of funny because it's almost Nintendo-like if the Pokemon company was actually part of Nintendo in terms of being the worst dumb idea. Where you remember how on the 3DS they made a 3DS app called the Pokemon Bank to let you transfer Pokemon from older versions
that you had to pay a subscription
for eventually. They made that. Well, guess what? They're making a new one of those for the Switch called Pokemon Home, which links to Pokemon Bank on the 3DS version, so you can transfer between Bank and Home in order to get your Pokemon from the 3DS version to the Switch version. It's not just Pokemon Bank on Switch. It's a new thing called Pokemon Home.
So you'd pay for both?
I'm not sure whether this one is paid. I don't think they specifically said.
Okay. The cynic in me immediately went, well, we can charge them twice.
Probably. But it's meant to... I guess they've decided, instead of... I don't know why they didn't just use the Bank branding and just make a new version of it for the Switch or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's linking between the Switch, the 3DS, and Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Let's Go that's already on the Switch, so you'll still be able to get Pokemon out of that into this app.
Oh, okay, that's mildly interesting. But how does the link to Go work?
I don't know. You have to have yet another app that's like linked to Go on your phone or something.
But isn't Go super weird in terms of like how it?
Well, the weird thing will be like how it work out what Pokemon stats are.
Yeah, what's its level? Because they're just like an infinitely growing SP number or something, aren't they?
Or something.
CP or something.
Yes, transferring Pokemon out of the less detailed games into the more detailed games. I mean, technically they've already done stuff like that coming up through the older versions, where it's like these kind of stats didn't exist in these old versions, so you just recalculates them based on the Pokemon ID or whatever.
Interesting.
There are ways for it to get around that problem.
Huh.
So that's kind of dumb and ridiculous that they've come up with yet another different thing when instead of just updating the old thing and keeping that new branding. Although Home is kind of a better name than Bank, I guess.
No, Bank makes a lot of sense.
Well, Bank does make a lot of sense, but if you're going to have it be the home for all your Pokemon from all these different games, that branding is slightly more...
Is this like because Bank sounds a little bit too corporate, and even though you are storing all your Pokemon in a computer.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're giving them a home.
And then the much more ridiculous, in a funny way, bit of news that they've made of this is Pokemon Sleep. The Pokemon Company wants to own your soul every minute of every day because they're upgrading Pokemon Go with a new, extra device thing that you put on your bed so it can monitor your sleep.
I bet it's not that they should have thought about this when they were putting out the Go Watch, surely.
Yeah, you'd think so, but no, they want to sell you yet another bit of hardware.
Yeah.
But yes, they're upgrading Pokemon Go to not just monitor your walking, but also to monitor your sleeping.
To do what?
I don't know, get more Pokemon, presumably.
I thought Nintendo were pulling out of the Vitality game.
This isn't Nintendo, though, is it?
Is it the Pokemon Company?
Yeah, this is the Pokemon Company doing their own thing.
Okay.
Attached to Pokemon Go, which also isn't Nintendo.
Well, I thought Nintendo had some sort of license ownership over Pokemon.
Who knows what that business deal actually is?
Yeah,
it always seems
I think Pokemon Company are allowed to do their own thing, but
yeah.
I do think Nintendo's always involved somewhere.
Well, Nintendo did briefly shelf on this presentation to say, Sword and Shield are coming, don't worry about it, and then they just left. That was pretty much it. So that was the Pokemon thing. It's still dumb, and they just want to get Pokemon fucking everywhere.
Well, of course.
At all times.
Yeah.
Never not be Pokemon.
Pikachu's still hot right now.
Forever.
In fact, those first 150 Pokemon are still hot.
Yeah.
Sod the rest of
them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that matter.
Well, and of course my soft spot for Sudowoodo. You can stay.
Okay, we'll get Gold and Silver then. Yeah. 250.
Yeah.
Sudowoodo, so good. It's such a silly name as well.
Well, that's the way, when the English translations of the names are good, they're good.
They're good, yeah.
I guess
Cinnamonkey.
I guess I've never well, yeah, that exists.
I know, it's bad.
Except not exactly like that.
Isn't it?
Not Cinnamonkey.
Isn't it?
It's not quite as explicitly terrible as that.
Well, what's the new monkey? Isn't that the new monkey from Like that Shaun Seal trailer?
No.
Oh, it's not Cinnamon.
No, it's not Cinnamon.
What was the
I
monkey?
forget what it is,
like,
though.
Chim.
No, you're thinking of Chimchar. That's one of the previous monkeys.
Right, okay. He exists. I mean, the only one I can really remember is Score Bunny.
Yep.
Because it's got Bunny in the name. That feels like they're breaking their rules a little bit.
Kind of. I mean, it's not like that's iconic, I don't think. But terrible.
Score Bunny.
More news. Let's talk about. Let's briefly get through the Epic doing dumb things news of the week, I guess. Although technically this is actually news that was related to what we talked about last time.
This is a regular section, is it?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Regular segment.
I'm trying to think how long it's been since we haven't had some dumb Epic news.
At least 2.5 months, I would guess, judging by how many podcasts it's been.
Considering it's dumb.
Yep.
Can you do it in a Suffolk accent? I said Suffolk.
Well, I can do it in a Suffolk accent just by talking.
I don't think we have a Suffolk accent.
I think we do, you just don't know it.
Okay.
It's not very strong.
No. But the dumb thing, it was more related to the Epic sale, which is why technically this is news that would have been in the last time we talked about it, but it didn't quite break by the time we did that podcast. It turns out, because the Epic Store is bad and crappily featured, you may have heard people bitching about this several times, that it doesn't have a shopping cart. And everyone's like, what the fuck, why doesn't it have a shopping cart? And then they released their roadmap for upgrading the Epic Store, and the shopping cart is in like the long-term category.
Oh,
it's like it's still going to take them another 6 months to even make that.
Well, I wonder if they're thinking like, so how often do you make a shopping cart of stuff when you're buying on Steam?
Well, yes, not that well. I mean, some people probably do, but
I do fairly frequently, because it's like when I'm buying something, I go, well, I'm buying this, so I might as well go on a bit of a
and also a lot of the time you're doing it during a sale when you're buying several things, which is what happened here with this Epic thing, because during their sale, there's no shopping cart, and people are like, I want to buy several things on the Epic Store, so I'll buy them, except I have to buy them one at a time because there's no shopping cart, and then whoops, my account got locked because of fraud protection. Genius move there, Epic. Your fraud protection doesn't account for the fact that you don't have a shopping cart.
Yeah, so they have to explain, if you buy too many games too quickly, they think your account's been hacked.
Because there's been a lot of hacking problems with Epic accounts, I guess.
Yeah, because of course there is Fortnite.
Yep.
So they assume all that spend is illegal, or someone having access to your account and going, I can spend on your account somehow. Which means they're storing credit card details? Is that a thing?
Well, I mean, it's a store, isn't it?
Yeah, but not every store allows that. But yeah, I guess they would for Insta V-Bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, yeah, I can see why it's there, but I guess those who are a little bit flush for cash, or flush with cash.
Well, and this big ass sale, where everything was on sale.
Everything's on sale.
And then partially related to that, and also games I haven't been playing news. The Oxygen Not Included launch patch got delayed from May 28th to sometime in July. And if you want to...
Oh, yes, I know.
If you want to go into, like, get out the whiteboard and red string conspiracy mode... If you look at the timeline of events, what happened was they announced that they were going to release their launch patch for May the 28th. The Epic Store sales started happening. They removed their game from the store because of that whole situation that we talked about last time. And then they're like, our new release date is sometime after the Epic Store sale is finished. It's like, I don't think that's actually the reason, but it is a nice coincidence for them, I suppose.
It does seem mighty convenient, doesn't it?
I think they didn't give them enough time to actually finish the patch that they were working on, because it did seem like, even when they first announced that date, it was like, that seems like quite a quick turnaround for this, what seems to be quite a lot of content with the new biomes and all that stuff they're planning on putting in. It didn't seem like they were giving themselves enough time. So as long as they are in fact continuing to work on it, and it's not just like an extra month and a half where they're just like, we just don't want to sell this during the Epic sale, so we're just going to sit on our asses for a month and a half. But not like they aren't going to continue working on this game post 1.0 anyway.
No, of course.
Because it's not like they haven't fucking stopped working on Don't Starve forever.
Yeah, and there's very few games that actually get left alone after launch these days.
Well, sure.
Like, all games will keep going forever.
But yeah, that was quite a coincidence, probably.
Dumb Epic news.
Yep. There was also technically dumb Borderlands 3 / Randy Pitchford news, but it's not actually significant enough to really talk about this week.
I mean,
but there was. Just know that it continued to happen this week as well.
No, come on, tell me. I want to know. I don't know this.
He retweeted a video that was kind of animal cruelty. It was like a cat fighting a crab, and he reposted it, and then when people called him out on it, of it being kind of animal cruelty-ness, he was like, he did the best worst excuse of posting something bad on the internet of, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
Oh, wow.
I just wanted to see what the reaction was. It's like, that's just a terrible excuse.
I mean, it would vaguely explain his career. That's all he's doing anything for.
Yes, I guess.
I just want to see what everyone else thought of my hijinks. Guys?
But yeah, that was the dumb Randy Pitchford Borderlands 3 news of this week.
Right.
Epic and Borderlands 3 are keeping in step. Well,
Yep.
not really Borderlands 3, Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, whatever.
It's just Randy.
Any of those three things.
Just Randy.
I hear, this is news that I heard literally a minute before I left the house to come here. I heard that they might be making a DLC for Borderlands 2 that's going to lead into Borderlands 3.
Huh.
Like, even at this point.
That seems odd.
Well, I mean, it's not completely without precedent or anything, but, they can probably shit that out quite quickly, I guess.
I mean, it'd have to be tiny for anyone to care, right? Like, why would you...
It wouldn't have to be that.
I mean, Borderlands 3 isn't that far away, in theory.
Yeah, but
so
you're building the hype.
You don't... I don't know, it just seems so too close. If it was like a year away, I think I'd understand it a bit more.
Well,
also, Borderlands 2 is old ass.
Well, yes, but it's still fine. It's not like it's unplayable or looks that bad. I mean, it looks old, but it's got a style to cover that up.
And I guess I think it might be the Handsome Collection that's just come out on PS Plus.
Mm.
So you could play all the Borderlands.
Yes, they're building hype, exactly.
So maybe there's a route you could potentially want to buy some DLC for all of that Borderlands you've just got.
The real question is, when's this DLC coming out on Steam?
Yeah.
Because are they going to be building hype for the Borderlands 3 release that isn't going to happen on Steam until at least 6 months after the end September?
Maybe that's the consolation prize. Hey, Borderlands 3 is available on Epic, but for you,
Well, maybe it's just a big fuck you. It's not what we're basically saying. You can get this, but you can't play the game that it's leading you up to until at least another 6 months.
Yeah, this will tide you over, right?
So we'll see about that.
It's not without precedent to do that simply because of, I don't know, Bloodstain's the one I think of because they put out that demake, didn't they? The retro game.
I'm not sure that's exactly the same.
It's not quite the same. It's not DLC, but they put out a whole different game.
I was thinking more of Mass Effect, where they did those DLCs that were crossover between the different parts. They weren't really leading up to, though. It was like there was that Mass Effect 3... No, wait. There was the Mass Effect 2 Arrival, where they did the... Or was that 3? No, I think that was 2. They did a bit of DLC that was pre the actual story of Mass Effect 2. But they linked the old Mass Effect and the second one. I think they did it for free as well.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that was really on the hype train.
No, it wasn't exactly the same, but it was the same idea, where they were just here's a DLC that links these two stories more directly and fills in a bit of the gap.
I mean, that's not that uncommon. I mean, Final Fantasy did that. Final Fantasy 15 did that to link its own story to itself.
So that, again, may not count. When it's just our story is so convoluted in this one game, we need more DLC to fix our own story.
Yeah, or we've hacked considerable parts out of it.
Well, yes.
Oh boy!
What other news we got?
More
important
the bigger news. Let's talk about
some trailers going on.
There'll be some trailers.
We're not at E3 yet, but here comes some trailers.
But here they come.
Some early reveals. So
some weird like, why are you doing this not at E3?
Well, a little bit. Okay. The Activision one strikes me as, why are you doing this now? Why is a Call of Duty Modern Warfare, as it's just called, not
helpfully?
Yeah,
maximum confusion. They've taken a 4 out.
Yeah, it's not good. I wasn't happy with that brand action before.
But everyone's doing it. They're just remaking things and calling it the same thing.
They should have called it The Modern Warfare, or Modern Warfare Kings. Something dumb. Just change it a little bit, but I don't like Modern Warfare 4 would have been okay. No, that's
bad as well.
That's worse. Yeah, the moderner warfare, the present day warfare,
modern battling,
warfare,
modern battling.
Warfare 2019.
Yeah, but then you can't explicitly say what year it takes place in.
But you say it's modern, and it's pretty much right now.
Yeah, but was Modern Warfare the right now? I'm not sure it was. Really.
All of the Modern Warfare games have been sort of this era.
Yeah, but that's the point. This era, it's like it's not really
this technology level.
Well, arguably, this technology level.
Pretty much.
Some of the Modern Warfare stuff was getting a bit, a bit just near future.
Was it? I don't really know. The Modern Warfare has always been relatively grounded. The ones I didn't play 3, admittedly. I played 1 and 2, but relatively grounded until the nuke. So anyway, they put out that trailer. It's got friggin' Price in it, of course.
God damn it. That's exactly what I said they shouldn't do. They need to make a break, make up new characters. Maybe because they're continuing to just come up with even more bullshit reasons to include Price. He was pretty much just a jank inclusion on both of the previous 2 stories. Where it's just we're just going to somehow work out a way for him to continue to be relevant.
To some extent, yeah. But I don't know. They are definitely evoking what Modern Warfare, the original COD 4, was going for, with a heavy emphasis on that night mission in that trailer.
Well, at least night looks better now.
Yeah, well, it looked good then. It was kind of a first. That night vision was not just that night vision was there. That's not a first, but that they'd done it in quite such a realistic looking way. That's sort of the way those headsets work, you don't see very far, but that certain things are super highlighted, like the laser sights on the guns, and it's it was a damn fine looking thing at the time, and it's okay, fine, I can see you're capitalizing on possibly the most famous part of the original COD 4, but the original COD 4, but that's kind of all I really took away from that. It's but yet I still kind of came away thinking, this will probably be all right.
Well, at least they're making
it's
story.
A campaign, yeah.
It's not just multiplayer.
I'll come back to that a bit later because I've got some COD Blops 4 to talk about. But it's no, I was kind of looking at that, going, you know what, I might be in. I might be okay with this. And they couldn't help themselves, could they? At the end of the trailer, where it's just when they ask Price, "Who's your crew?" and he's like, "Oh, some old faces or something." And it's great.
Apart from the ones who are all dead.
Yeah. Who can you remember who's still alive?
Yeah, exactly.
Crossover time. It's going to cross over with Black Ops, and they're going to get woods in ancient woods.
Didn't they already do that though?
Wasn't
there already a slight crossover somewhere else in one of those other stories?
I don't think so. I think they've all stayed relatively separate. Just actually thinking about it, slightly odd, but yeah. Kevin Spacey will turn up. I don't know.
Oh God, I hope not. I think that's the end of his video game appearances, and probably most appearances in general.
So there was that. It's a little bit surprising. It's odd that it just wasn't either tied to a Microsoft or a Sony thing of some kind. It might be because Sony aren't doing a thing and Activision just wanted to get out there.
Yeah, or they might just be showing it again.
Yeah,
because Activision doesn't really have any qualms about just showing the same thing multiple times in multiple places.
No, but it also depends slightly whether Activision's marketing deal with Sony has actually run out or something like that. Because that was the thing, right? All throughout the 360 generation, Activision had a deal with Microsoft. That's why all those trailers came out at the Microsoft E3 and why they had that early DLC deal with them. This generation, that flipped to Sony, and that's been the case where Sony would do the reveals and Sony would get all the DLC. Not now.
Well, maybe not now.
Busted.
We don't know.
And the other one, we got a tantalizing 9 ass minutes.
There was some ass.
There was a little bit of ass, yeah. But 9
well,
minutes.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 minutes of Death Stranding. You want to talk about trailers that they probably wouldn't have been able to show at a conference? I don't know, a 9-minute ridiculous Kojima epic probably fits in there somewhere.
I feel like that would have been fine in like a Square conference.
Well, maybe.
Like they have time to fill.
Well, again, it's another Sony thing.
Well,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Because Sony are helping out with Death Stranding, and it's and if Sony don't have a show, where are they going to fit a 9-minute trailer?
Well, like we said, presumably Sony is going to have some kind of video thing at some point. But maybe they don't want 9 minutes of a video thing.
So I still don't know what this game is, but boy, that trailer has got me so hype. I don't know why. I don't understand.
Even I was slightly infused about it. I was like, wow, this is actually going places that it's kind of interesting.
It's right. Like, so the level of Kojima madness that I don't think MGS5 ever quite lived up to. I mean, it's mad, but it's like mad. I always thought it was going to be more mad than it was to some degree. This is completely unleashed madness, and I'm in. I'm so in. Like it's got undead soldiers coming out of like World War II. You're in World. You've got Sam Bridges building literal bridges somehow, and he's like in World War II chasing fire tanks.
Except, are you in World War II? Like it seems like it's not time travel. It's some kind of
there's some kind
memory
of
or something.
Parallel dimension. You need babies in tank. Well, like we kind of now know what the babies in tanks are for. Like they are connected to the multiple worlds, and you see the other worlds vicariously through them. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And that maybe Cliff or Mads Mikkelsen is the guy that helps create those, and yet maybe he's not the bad guy after all, but he looked a lot like the bad guy in the previous. I don't know. There's demons. There's demons.
Well, there was always the.
I mean, not the hovering black things, but there's like a faction called Demons.
Oh right, that kind of.
We didn't see a lot of crazy spiky suit lady, I don't think, in that one.
Apparently, maybe she's not actually very important.
No, maybe not.
But she's part of that company, right? Whatever. The corporation.
I guess, yeah. You've got...
And you're apparently working for the President of the United States.
Yeah, for the President, who you don't mind swearing casually at.
Well,
must be fairly good friends.
Yes. I'm really kind of hoping...
But I don't know what the game is.
Well, from the little bits of the game that you do see, where he's like putting up a ladder and walking through a field, and then that like battle bus of bad guys turns up and tries to take his backpack or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that like that part of the game is like... I mean, obviously there's stealth involved, evidently. Also when you're avoiding the shadows or whatever.
Himself has said this isn't a stealth game.
Yeah, I mean...
But maybe it has some stealth.
Kind of stealth.
Yeah.
But like
he's describing it more as an action game.
Well, that's kind of what I was hoping it wasn't so much. Like that
and some nonsense about strands, because of course.
Well, yes. But that whole bit where they like chase him around in the field, and then like he hops on his weird portable motorbike or whatever and tries to escape, or like I was kind of hoping that was going to be like really rare. I was kind of hoping for a walking simulator, except like more extreme.
Yeah, because if it's like some kind of interesting traversal game, I guess, like where it's about overcoming, like getting over it with Bennett Foddy, but with a budget.
Yeah.
then I can really get behind it. But I'm so like,
I don't want to fight. That's the thing.
No, I know what you mean. I think it's like it doesn't feel a little bit. It feels a little bit of an antithesis to what Kojima has said about the game before, but if that only happens like as the odd one-off or something like that, like every like not very frequent, then that's fine.
Yeah, or if it's like if there is some kind of element of like planning where you can see that kind of stuff coming and like avoid it.
Yeah, because it seemed like there was some sort of ping on the ground, wasn't it? And you could see where he...
Yeah, like it scanned his backpack and then it left like an image of where he was.
So you could see where the backpack had been scanned and been like, all right, I need to get away from that.
But then they turned up so quickly, it's like, that's kind of...
That might have just been for the trailer.
Well, sure.
Yeah. There's a huge amount to it. It's just... the bit I'm sort of struggling with a little bit is like how exactly what we saw in that trailer connects to some of the stuff we saw in the early trailers, especially the first one, right? Like I suppose the hands on the grounds and the things dying and things like that, and the other connected. It's like it was a little bit more.
Well, I think that very
horror film than where it's now ended up.
Well, I think that very first trailer was more like you could consider that almost sort of a dream sequence or like a conceptual like state of the world thing. Like maybe that's not necessarily actually in the game, or if it is, it's like or it is a dream sequence or something. It's just like it doesn't fit that well to what they've shown of how the world of the game exists. I don't think.
Maybe
unless you get to the coast and then it looks like, oh shit, at the coast everything's all fucked up.
Yeah. Man. I do have to talk about the fact that there's a character called Die Hard Man.
Die Hard Man.
Die Hard Man.
What's the name?
Die Hard Man.
Die Hard Man.
Like Die Hard. No, not even spelt differently. Like Die Hard, or something like that. It's just straight up Die Hard Man.
Okay.
And there's also a guy called Dead Man, and that's Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro is Dead Man.
I mean, it sounds pretty exciting, to be honest.
I'm so confused, and I love it. It's like I would quite happily just, this is what, again. My worry is that it's a game a little bit like MGS4, where I'm not fussed about the game part. I just want to get to whatever crazy cutscene you've got next for me.
Revolver Ocelot on a boat, or
or some kid throwing eggs. That happened a lot. Oh man, Death Stranding. Get hype. November. Out this year.
You know what's not out this year? Convenient segue. The Sonic movie.
The Sonic movie.
It got delayed. Yay! So evidently they are going to do work on it.
Yep, it's official. They are doing something. It's not been delayed by much. Let's put this in perspective here. It was a November release date, and it's been pushed to February.
Right.
That's not
that
big
long.
Difference. Yeah.
Well,
like so they're basically paying, like forcing a CG team somewhere to have like what 3 months, yeah. To like crap out a whole new Sonic like model.
Well, technically, they've got more like 8 months if you include the time now that they know that they have to start working.
Yeah, but they've only added 3. That's the thing. They've been running really to the wire.
Meow. Oh dear. I don't think that can be saved.
It's weird to like some of the commentary you hear about this, where some people are all like, "Hey, we kind of wanted bad Sonic because there's no way this film can be better."
No,
just by making Sonic look better. Yeah, he looked atrocious, but the rest of the trailer looked atrocious.
It suited the tone of the film, but it all looked bad, so it worked out well.
I'm still. I reckon it'll be a fun, hilarious time for the badness.
Yeah, in which case they should have left it as it is, because it would be a better bad movie.
If they don't throw in a random human teeth joke in there.
You think they're going to have to edit in some extra scenes to reference the badness?
Yeah. They'll reference themselves somehow.
Make a joke about never taking your gloves off. So you don't want to see what my hands are like.
Nah. I reckon that might be the one change they make. They leave the rest of Sonic the same. They just put gloves on it.
It could work.
I mean, nothing about this film works, but yeah, that happened. And Bixby on my watch just kicked in somehow. So
as it tends to, apparently.
Yeah, I still haven't actually figured out what the appropriate command for starting that is. It just sort of does it every now and then. Like, I don't know. I actually don't know how to make it trigger on the watch. I know what the phrase is to make it trigger on my phone, but my watch isn't listening. It's like, so I'm clearly doing something, or maybe I'm leaning on a button or something on my phone and it's triggering it on the watch. I don't know. Technology. It could have started talking at us, but I got ahead of it.
What else?
The new Bixby voice is bad. Like, it's better than it used to be because it's English now rather than American.
Okay.
But it's so enthusiastic. It's like, "Hi, I'm Bixby. I come straight out of children's TV. I'm a bird."
Yeah, that boy. Do we have any more news?
I don't think so.
I was trying to remember.
That was that thing about Halo Reach split screen on PC not being there.
For some reason. Like, why would you remove any features if you're just porting it?
I don't know. But it looks fine otherwise. I'm sure they'll put it in if everyone seems to want it.
Yeah, of course you want it.
Yeah.
As we've said before, it's our primary preferred way to play a Halo game.
I mean, it's something that Halo did that no one else seems to do has done as well. Like, really, like since way back in the day, like the cooperative split screen, that was great. I don't know why games don't do that, but I don't know.
There's just something about how Halo works
that suits
like how its combat flows that really suits kart play.
It's true,
and it's maybe less so in. Some people will have some reservations about whether that's been maintained with the reduction of the AI quality in Halos 4 and 5.
Right.
That that flow isn't quite there anymore because I don't know. I quite like watching the videos by Racervic, who does like big deep analyses on things like that, and he explained the difference in the AI behaviors between 3 and 4 pretty well. And I to be honest, I hadn't paid a huge amount of attention to it in that way, but actually when you do see them in action, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's blindingly obvious. Like, there's definite downgrade somewhere, presumably to power their slightly fancier graphics engine. They've had to get rid of some CPU cycles on intelligence. but yeah, split screen. It's kind of it's a good time. Not everything has to be online. I want to sit on my couch with Zach next to me saying nothing, and us telepathically figuring out how to work out complex scenarios.
Yes. Yep, that's what we do now, clearly.
Yeah.
That is the way.
The one time our telepathy still works.
I don't think that's the one time.
I don't think we have it every time on Rocket League anymore.
No, well, not every time. Sometimes.
Didn't Reach have a horde mode?
It did. It had a version of Firefight in it.
Not as good as the original, though.
Not as good as ODSTs.
Right.
No. They changed up the rules a little bit, and so it wasn't quite as fun. But it is there, and it is still a fairly decent horde mode.
Yeah. That's pretty good in split screen, I bet.
Oh yeah, works just fine. I mean, I ended up playing quite a bit of that online with Kips, I think, back in the day. But That might be it for news.
The news. It's time for What Have You Been Playing? What you been playing, Rob? What you been playing, Rob?
Oh,
what you been playing?
That would be me,
Rob.
Me.
Rob.
Me. I've been playing Black Ops 4.
Still, for some reason. I thought you were done with that after the last podcast.
Well, no, I wasn't done with it. I'd only just touched on competitive multiplayer last podcast. I hadn't even pressed blackout or zombies buttons yet.
Because why would you?
I mean, that is an interesting question, as it turns out.
Especially zombies.
Why would you? Yeah. So, okay. So, I'm more disappointed with Black Ops 4 having explored the rest of it than I was just playing competitive multiplayer. Because it makes the value proposition of it feel not good.
Right.
Like, so, okay, let's start with zombies, because I've never liked the implementation of zombies in COD. It's always felt either far too simplistic, or when they started going crazy with it and adding like all these secrets and extended worlds and things like that, none of that's ever explained. You've got to put the legwork in to try and figure that out whilst still playing a horde mode.
Yeah. And
like yeah, there are things to delve into if you really want them, but they're obscured and they were awkward to pull off, and it just wasn't a huge amount of fun. And over the years, they have improved that. I will give them credit. It's slightly less obscure than it once was. It's a little bit more overt about how you can actually unlock different areas of the map, for instance, and how you can actually progress through and make things happen. Some of that stuff is more obvious and more explained to you, and some of it in the like tooltips, like of certain areas, will be like, "Oh, you need to go do this thing before this will open up," and it's like, "Okay, fine, you're giving me some like Johnny Casual here the ability to actually get slightly further through this and see more of your content. That's fine." I still don't feel like I understand it at all, though. It's like it seems really hard to actually play properly, and I'm playing it with randoms, obviously, and everyone splits out, and I don't know how I upgrade myself properly in order to be in a position where I can hold off the horde sufficiently well enough. Yeah, it's odd. It feels like a lot of attention has been put on it this time round. Like it no masked while it was loading up. She was like, "Is this the main mode of this?" Like, so like from the outside looking in, it looked like more attention had been spent on the presentation of this than the rest of it. And yeah, to some degree, I can see that. Like, it's got its own custom HUD, and it's got custom, the design and the feel of the game is fairly different from the rest of it. So yeah, clearly time is spent on this. But even with all these improvements, I still don't really get why it's such a big deal. I don't get why it would justify itself being a third of this package.
I know.
It's just. Well, it was never meant to be a third of any of them, was it? Really? It's just now there's not much of anything else to it, so it is.
Yeah, it used to be like the main
just a
one
bonus.
It was the bonus on top of the single player, which was short, and the multiplayer, which was the main thing, I suppose. Right?
Well, yeah, it started as the bonus to that first World War one that Treyarch did, right?
World at War.
World at War, that was it. Yeah. It started off as a little bonus to that, and then by the time Black Ops rolled around, they made it a little bit bigger and made it the joke. Is it the Dead Presidents mode? Was that in that one?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, which was the one with Nixon and?
I think that was Black Ops 1.
Didn't it have Robert McNamara and Kennedy? Yeah.
Yeah, it had some. Well, I mean, the Zombies mode has always had some fairly big acting names behind it. Well, like one of them had Jeff Goldblum in it. Like, it's a little bit ridiculous. But it's kind of bad at telling any kind of story because they're all just random quips. So I've played like 3 or 4 rounds of it now on the level that's set on a doomed cruise liner kind of thing, And like it just feels like they're just randomly saying things periodically. It's not like they're really telling a story or stuff like that. There are interactions, but they're not proper interactions because they're shouting at them across the ship, and you can just hear them. Like because the players all spread. Players are stupid on that. They all spread out, and it's like well, okay, well, shouldn't we be sticking together to make it so we can actually survive past this wave? No, all right then. We're all as far apart as we can possibly be. No one's paying attention. No one's talking. Is probably a blessing. And maybe if you're dedicated and you bring a group of friends with the intention of figuring this out, and you don't mind spending 15-20 minutes on each run at least, then maybe there's something there for you. Like I said, it does seem relatively well made. It's just odd, and I think this is where I was thinking about this. I think this is where some of my problems with modern Call of Duty start coming in, because it has consumable items in the form of elixirs that can give you a buff. They can do something in there, but like I said, I'm pretty sure they're consumable and you don't get them back. And I haven't quite figured that system out or how that actually works. And it's like, that seems like, that's a pay to win mechanic right there. And it's like, it's not. Yeah, this isn't competitive, it's co-op, but still, it's there. And I was like, oh, all right. That doesn't fill me with a huge amount of joy. There are consumables that are purely, they're classed as whimsical, which might actually be the best thing about this, but they're a consumable item still, so you've still got to pay some currency in order to get them. But I played one game where someone threw a whimsical elixir out that put like rubber duck rings around all the zombies. Like it does nothing other than every time you kill a zombie, all the duck around it quacks a bit, which makes it somewhat more entertaining. You actually just hear there's all these dark corridors with zombies attacking you, dying, and going. It does. Whimsical is the word. It adds something. But it's a consumable item. Yeah, if I used it that one time, I'd get 4 minutes of fun or however long it lasts, and then it's gone. And you seem to get the currency very, very slowly. So, don't care. Moving on. So then I played some Blackout, and then had my usual experience with Battle Royale games, which is play a couple of rounds and get murdered immediately. So I've got no idea what I'm doing, no idea how to play this. And then have one round where I'm following a teammate because I switched to team mode, and we run around for ages and actually do quite all right and had a pretty good time with it. But like I was highly tempted to stop after the first few rounds of just wait for the lobby, hang around in the staging area for a minute while everyone loads in, then do the wingsuit jump, then land somewhere where I can't find a gun, and then get one shot killed. Ugh. Wait another few minutes to repeat the pattern before I've even fired a shot. And there was one bloody match where I didn't know what was going on, and this thing that looked like a paper airplane just flew at me, and I sort of look up and I go, "Oh, what's that?" Boom, dead. It's like I've got no idea what that was. Just like a paper airplane just killed me. Ridiculous. So yeah, I had a rocky start with it, but when I got into that game where we lasted a bit longer, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a battle royale game. I don't think it's as good as Apex Legends. There you go. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's like it's just.
How much Apex Legends did you play?
I've played quite a bit of that.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it benefits greatly from having some of that Titanfall DNA because it feels good to move around. The level design is not so big and so open as PUBG, and the Blackout map is huge. Like it's really big. It's like there's a reason why you might want to get in a car for that kind of thing. Whereas Apex, you don't need a car. You just run around. You're fine. It seems competent. It seems well done, but it hasn't hooked me at all. Like like zombies, I think you're going to have to play it with people to get any kind of real joy from it. Which then leads me back to the competitive multiplayer, which as I said before, I think is one of the stronger multiplayers they've had for a long time, which but is severely hamstrung by a terrible, tiny selection of maps. I'm not saying the maps are terrible. I just think like the number you get is
very
far too small.
Yeah.
Without buying DLC, and it's like it just makes the whole package of Black Ops 4 kind of pretty unappealing. Like, had I not been given it. It's not to say I haven't had fun with it. I do think the competitive multiplayer is very good, and I think there is promise in the other. As much as I haven't got on with them, I do think there is promise in the other two modes. I just don't understand them, and I don't gel with them. COD 4, not for me. Bring back the campaign. Hashtag campaign.
Well, that's what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's what Modern Warfare is. There's no guarantee that Black Ops 5 will have a campaign.
Do you think that'll be another battle royale?
A Blackout's done pretty well. I think it's like it seems.
So you think they'll have
battle royales done, aren't they?
Battle royale in rotation like every year at this point?
Well,
not every year. Sorry, every third year.
Yeah, there's rumors, isn't there, that Activision might break out some of the Call of Duty stuff into a free to play thing. And that might happen this year. So who knows how that plays out? Maybe the battle royale element spins out. I can see it. I can see that happening. And I'd probably be totally okay with that. I wish. I think for those other two modes, I think for competitive multiplayer, it actually does a very good job of onboarding you. I think it does a good job of explaining the modes, what your characters, what the heroes are capable of, how the new equipment system works, and things like that. I actually think the onboarding for COD 4 is very good. The zombies mode this time does at least have 2 tutorials, but I don't think they're very basic. And when you actually get into the match itself, it's like it's madness. It's like I don't really know what's going on, and maybe some of that will come over time. Blackout didn't have anything. Has no tutorial at all. It has no. Here's how you play it. Here's how your inventory works. Here's why you'd want to pick this stuff up. Here's why you might not. Here's how it had absolutely nothing to guide me into it, and like that's rubbish. And admittedly, most battle royales don't. I had exactly the same problem with Fortnite. I found I could not get into that because it just didn't tell me what I was supposed to be doing, on how any of its systems really worked. Apex, at the very least, has a super basic tutorial. But it has the huge advantage over the others that its systems feel way more intuitive. Like things like the backpack in Apex are really very good. They color code the levels of all your equipment. So your backpack, for instance, you don't just go find any old backpack. It's like, oh, I've started with a backpack, a white one. That's fine. That's level 1. I know that's only going to give me a little bit more space. If later on in the match I find a purple one, it's like, oh, that's a level 3 backpack. I know that's going to replace my level 1. And the game won't let me replace my worst kit with my better kit. I'll just walk up to it and it'll go, no, you've already got better equipment than this. And it's like, great, fine, carrying on. Don't need to worry about it. It's just way better at communicating that stuff faster.
Yeah.
And COD could really benefit from some of that.
From some of that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Not that I think it has like a leveled system. Well, it does have some. You've got level 1 armor, and it's like, okay, great. It does have some of that, but it's not boiled down in a simple and clear way. And maybe that's what people really like from PUBG and COD. Maybe they like that complexity and figuring it out and that kind of stuff. But for me, the way Apex simplifies everything is genius. I think it does a really good job of that.
Yeah, they've really put a lot of thought into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Apex is a great game, and it's like I'm not very good at it, but I can appreciate it for what it's doing. It's very clearly considered.
I don't know how you can get away from the general problem of battle royale if you're not into them, of like not being able to find anyone, and then when you do run into people, you instantly die. It is a huge problem for it, and I don't. For the bigger ones, as I say, like PUBG and COD, that doesn't sit well with me. But Apex, if I'm playing it with, I've played it both solo and with kippers, and I do have a better time playing it with kippers than I do alone.
But for some reason in Apex, that the fact that you can only play it in squads, so you always have a team, no matter how dumb that team is, it does help. One of the things Apex does that COD doesn't actually, and in theory this sounds so simple and so obvious. Like in Apex, when you jump out of the ship, your crew stays together. By default, you have your jump master leads where everyone goes, and you by default fly with him, and you can choose to split off if you want. In COD, you don't get that. Everyone jumps out of the ship when they want, even if you're in a squad together. So what happens is I'm sat there in the ship watching. Okay, did my teammates just drop? Where are they going? I don't know. Two of them have gone that way, and one guy's gone this other completely different direction. What do I do now? Like, do I follow the two? Do I follow the one? Like, what's going on? It's like just that one simple thing makes a huge difference in how you think about the game. It's I feel more inclined to stay near my team in Apex, and I think everyone else does as well. I don't know. It's hard to quantify some of this stuff, but Apex works for me. Anyway, Black Ops 4, done with that. Well, I might play a bit more of the competitive, but with like on and off. But it's not my focus. I can say I've done it. Cool. The thing I've been mostly sinking my time into has been Celeste.
Oh, finally, one of us has played this thing.
Yeah, it came out on, I think it was last month's Game with Gold. So I had
that's why.
Yep, I had no excuse anymore. Yep. I had no excuse anymore. It's like, oh, it's there. It's like, oh, right, let's check this out. That's a game.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's really good. Yeah. So for those that don't understand, it's I would describe it as Meat Boy-esque platforming, in that it is.
Isn't it the Towerfall Ascension guys?
Yes, it is. It is Matt Makes Games. Or Matt Torson as his real name is, but like his studio is called Matt Make Games, and it's them. So it's got that pixel art style for the majority of it, and it's very pretty pixel art. It's very nicely animated, very 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 well done in that respect. And it's about difficult platforming. It's more about traversing through the world to get where you need to be, dying thousands of times. Literally, in my case, I've played through the entire main storyline and I died well over 1,000 times in the end. Because it gives you a death count. It says like that just goes up. Like you can't if you replay a level and go through it, your death count still goes up. It doesn't reset back down to 0. It's just like no, it just keeps going up. And it specifically says, "Be proud of your death count. Each death means you're learning." And it's like sometimes I'm not sure about that, but. I'm clearly just doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. Definition of insanity and all that. But it's a hell of a game. So it structures itself differently from Meat Boy, and that Meat Boy was these little packages of like tiny levels, basically. Here's a challenge, get through it as best you can, and then when you're done, you're done. Great, have a bit of a rest. The structure in Celeste is the levels are huge. Let's put it there. There's 8 chapters in the main story, and those are the levels. And they range from being about half an hour long on your first play to some of them lasting a good hour and a half. To get through the one long string of areas, and that means there's way more of an emphasis on exploring, and actually figuring out how to get to. Can I get through this certain thing? Can I reach this part of the level? Is that a secret there? I'm not sure. And so you end up trying all kinds of crazy stuff all the time to be like, okay, can I get up there somehow? This is probably where a good majority of my deaths went, like being like, just like, I think I can reach up there. I just need to figure that out. And while you're doing all that, the game throws these strawberries, like places them around the area. So some of the screens, for instance, will have like, there'll be a strawberry just hanging there. And very early on, the game says, you don't need these, but if you want to show off, go for them. So obviously I went for them. Like, I didn't get all of them, but it's like, but the strawberries are some of the more satisfying challenges. It's like you could just speed run through the game and not care about them, but it's I've been playing it like where when I see one, I'm going to figure out how to get to it and how to do it. And some they range from the very easy to the infuriatingly difficult. And just like Meat Boy, like that's where the fun lies. It's like pulling off a ridiculous sequence of events and coming out of it going, yeah, all right.
I don't know if the Meat Boy bandages were that fun. I think most of them were brutal.
In that compared to the bandages, they're not as difficult as those. They're not even close. And I think that's why I'm having a better time with this than I did Meat Boy. Like Meat Boy, I went through its main campaign and then didn't really have much of a compulsion to do much more. Not even the Dark World stuff. It just got too hard.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there is a B-side mechanic in this as well, where if you find a hidden cassette tape in each level, you get a B-side version of the level, which I haven't experimented with yet. So there might be some more of that frustration to come. But I just like the cut of its vibe. Really, it's like it tells a decent. I mean, the gameplay may be good, but actually, one of the probably the star of the show is the narrative. Something you wouldn't necessarily expect from a game of this type. It tells a very well written story of the protagonist Madeline literally battling her inner demons and coming to terms with who she is. And it's very well done. It has to be said, very well done. Some of the stuff at the end is genuinely quite moving. And I was expecting. I kind of knew going in that it had a little bit of that. That it had a little bit of this, storytelling. Given the Madeline and the canonically named Badeline being involved, and like how that comes together, and it very overtly, fairly early on, suggests that it's a mirror image of yourself and things like that. Badeline literally comes out of a mirror, and things like that. And it's the mountain is going to weird and bring out elements of yourself that you may not want to see, and things, and that side of it. But even going in knowing all of that, it still does a very good job with it. To the point where I want to, like, when it ended, it's just like, oh, kind of want more. This was good. It's very clever. It's very like the writing is very subtle in places, but the way they use language is very nod. They nod towards things a lot and be like just with their choice of words. Every now there'll be like one word in the sentence where it's just like, well, that's a little bit leading. Is that what's going on? Is that what you're leading me to? It's like it's clever. It's pretty well done, and it's all done with the like. You remember when you selected the character in Towerfall, you got that weird whir sort of noise and things like that. So they're using that synthy sound to do all the voice work. So it's like whir, and it's like actually works pretty well because they can convey more emotion than they would with a normal chirp 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 voice line. So when you've got Theo, who likes to take selfies and is obsessed with Instapics, saying, "Oh, the selfie solves everything," it goes "whoa," things like that in a sort of like satisfying way. It's the sound design is excellent. I think the music is good, and the only reason I bring that up is because it was nominated for so many awards. So I do think the music is good and works. However, my problem with it is that because the levels are so long, you're hearing quite a lot of the same variation.
Repeating,
repeating before you move on to an area where it finally changes. So it does get a little bit wearisome in spots after a while. As I say, it's not a bad soundtrack by any means, but it's just that it maybe isn't as suited to the game as it perhaps should be in places, or there just needed to be more variations. It needed to move more as you progressed. But maybe that would be fine if you weren't caring about strawberries and exploring quite so much as I was. Maybe it works better. But man, yeah, I've got very little bad things to say about it. It is very good. About 8 hours to get through the main story, but there's all kinds of extras. Got all the B-sides to do, and some clever secrets. Oh, I will say, I was very happy when there is a secret that is a nod to Super Mario Brothers 3 and a famous trick you can do early on in that game. It was awesome.
Sweet.
It was awesome. Totally unexpected. The game doesn't really do that whole referential thing very much.
But this one time, it's like, well, it's Super Mario Brothers 3.
There was something out of place, shall I say, when I went into a certain area, and I'm like, that looks a little bit like that thing from SMB3. I'm just gonna. Oh, awesome! That works.
Awesome. Nice.
It's rad. It's rad. I like highly, highly recommended.
Radical. Celeste, then. I mean, no brainer. Sounds great.
Yeah. The one. Okay, this is super nitpicky at this point. Gnome had a complaint. She saw me start the game basically, and was drawn in by the art style because it's before you start the game, it's all quite high res graphics. Like the actual Celeste logo and stuff is like sort of cartoony and done like that, and the actual world map itself is 3D modeled and sharp, and then you get into the game and it's pixel graphics, and
Gnome
was like
pixels,
Gnome looked at it and was just like, it's a bit of a shame they did that. Really, I'd imagine this had looked beautiful had they stuck with their art style. And it's like, yeah, I can see that for sure. It is a bit weird that they mix the two. I don't think it doesn't work, but I can see why it would be jarring if you came into it and then suddenly went from, you've gone through the menus, you've gone through the little intro bit of story, and then suddenly pixels, and it's like, what happened? What changed? What decision was made here? And it's like, well, I'm sitting here going, well, Towerfall.
I guess, yeah.
But from the outside looking in, it's like it's a little bit odd. Oh man, they even do some clever things with how they do the character portrait and text thing, but they even have moments where they mess with that a little bit. There's one character that can break out of her portrait. It's cool.
Awesome. I love it when things break out of portraits.
Yeah.
Like in the Forest Temple boss in Ocarina.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Shit like that.
So there was that. I finished Jet Set Radio Future.
Okay. And
the ending wasn't. I forgot. I misremembered the ending. I think I was getting the endings of Jet Set Radio 1 and Jet Set Radio Future confused.
Was it on a giant thing on rails that you had to go round and round in circles fighting? No.
Oh, there was a train.
Yeah.
There was a train. That wasn't the last boss, but there was a train.
Okay.
That was that might have been one of the better bosses, actually, the train. The bosses are all generally quite bad. But but yeah, no, I'd misremembered. So I thought it was like I was fighting a DJ on a vinyl, and it's like, yeah, the bad guy is still a DJ in this, but you're not fighting him on a vinyl. You're fighting him in weird, almost Psychonaut style green floaty world,
right?
Where there's a difficult rail section to get up to this robot. I don't remember
that at all.
And then you spray this robot thing in the back.
Oh no, maybe I do.
And then you run out of spray, so you have to go back down again, and then get some more spray, and then do the difficult rail run back up to the top. It took me ages. It took me ages just to get it right, and then somehow managed to cheese it as you do. I found the last couple of times I did it, I somehow managed to get tons of damage on him when I was only doing pansy damage before, and it's like, well, I don't know what's changed, but okay, great, this is done now. The ending's not a highlight, let's put it that way. But then once you've done that, you start getting all the extra stuff that I sort of had forgotten about, where you can do the timed graffiti challenges, or the score challenges, or the I think there's a race challenge as well, where you can do a hot lap around areas, but you only get those on areas where you've done all the street challenges. So I'd only got a couple of those unlocked. And apparently that's the way you can unlock some of the more obscure characters.
Right.
Like if you want to play as the dog, apparently you can do that. And apparently the dog's the best character in the game in terms of stats.
Oh, stats-wise? Oh, sweet. Yeah.
So it might be worth going back to and giving that a go. But It's as I say, I think putting 15 hours into Jet Set Radio Future was a bit more than I was expecting. So I'm glad I did.
Yeah, you ended up getting through. So
yeah, I'm glad I did.
Blast from the past.
It annoyed the hell out of Gnome after the end because the soundtrack was doing a head in after a while. It's like the soundtrack's
not
really
actually
very
that long, is it?
Well, it's about 30 tracks. They have, but it's the way that it's sort of like as you go through the game, you tend the mix changes. So the mix you get at the very start of the game isn't the same as the mix you get in most areas at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end of the game, because I was spending a lot of time trying to figure out where to go, I kept getting that same mix in most of the areas. So it was like a lot of the same tracks are kind of, and to the point where now if I go back and I play it again, I'm not 100% sure you get many of the songs you heard at the start of the game. It's like, I don't know, like, where does aisle 10 turn up, for instance, anymore? Like, I don't know if I'm hearing that. Or
I forgot about Hello, Alison.
Yeah, that one. Even Birthday Cake has gone out of rotation at the moment.
So that's good, though.
Yeah, that one. I think that one annoyed no one the most. Because of course it did.
That's classic, that. They changed the lyrics, though. I think.
Did they?
Yeah, it's slightly edited in the game because there's a whole bit about the Vietnam War in the original lyrics.
Yeah, there is, but I can't remember what it was edited to. I
think they just stripped that whole section out. So
Maybe.
when you listen to the full version, it's like you're expecting it to transition into that next bit, and then there's like, oh wait, there's this whole other bit that's just suddenly happened.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think some of the music has some swearing in it that I think nobody really realised, so that didn't have to have so much of an age rating on it or something. I don't know. They get away with it in places. But man, yeah, like I said, I would love to see them make another one with some modern design. I very quickly, before we came on air, put the original Forza Motorsport into my Xbox.
Okay.
Of just morbid curiosity of like how badly has this stuff aged?
Right, because that really was quite like early doors, right? Forza 2 pretty much got it right, I think. And Forza was a little bit weird.
But not as weird as I remembered, actually. It holds up way better than I expected. Like, just in terms of how it handles, and it's like, it doesn't look the part anymore. And it's like styling is a little off. But it's not actually as far away from Forza 2 as I thought it was.
Oh, interesting.
If you're, I think the major disappointment comes in that soundtrack, which I knew originally. Like, it's not as bad as I remember it being, but it is just like generic guitars produced by Junkie XL for some reason, and it's just like it's so not interesting. But thank heavens for custom soundtracks, though. I can drive around the track like a madman to Mona Lisa Overdrive. Because I was going to play some Burnout 3, but it turns out the disc wasn't in the case. So I don't know where that is. Disappointment. Yeah, Forza 1. So probably it's a Forza game. Like, it's just... And it does have drivatars in it. I wasn't going crazy.
No, it does.
There is a train drivatar option in career mode.
Because that I worked with the guy who created those.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was just wanted to confirm it. Like, we didn't all collectively dream it, and when they tried to bring it in as a new fancy thing for Forza 5, it's like, no, they did this before.
Dr. Mike Tipping is his name.
I tip my hat
to exactly.
So I did that. What else have I done? We played a lot of Rocket League again.
Well, a lot, relatively speaking.
Yeah, don't really
more than we have the last 2 or 3 podcasts where we kept saying we were going to and didn't.
Yeah, don't have a huge amount to add to that, really. Just League is League. I went back to Overwatch for a bit. And played a few games of that to see what's going on, because it's their 3-year anniversary at the moment, which first of all made me think, Oh my god, has that game been out 3 years? That's mad. But also, yeah, what have you added in the period of time, and how much loot can I get? Because the anniversary events are some of the best, because it just means all the loot is available.
Yeah,
all of it. It's not event tied at the moment. We're just opening it all up. See what I could get hold of. I think it's still fantastic, obviously, but like some of the stuff they've added, some of the new levels starting to get a feel for. They are still very, very well designed. I think some of the new career areas aren't as well designed as they have been in the past. They seem perhaps a little more sniper friendly than they have in some of the previous levels have been, which, I'm not a huge fan of, but they still play great. Some of the new characters are great. I started getting the hang of Ash, who was added a while back as sort of McCree's arch nemesis, who has a scout-like push people back ability, which is occasionally fun to shove people off of cliffs. Yay!
Well, that's what Lucio was for, wasn't it?
Well, he has that as well, yeah. But so Ash has that too, to some extent. But hers is a little different because it pushes her back as well, so you can use it as a sort of escape tactic, as well as a bit of damage. So if you need to put some distance, it's doubly effective against a person. So that's kind of cool. And her ultimate is to summon a giant butler robot. Because why not? I've played a bit of Baptiste, who's like has heal grenades, basically. He's another healer character, but his weapon is heal grenades. As a damager, he's terrible. But as a healer, he gives another way of doing some sort of ranged assist,
right?
Which is nice. And I've actually been playing quite a bit of Symmetra, who I didn't really like before. Now I've talked about her change before on here, but she always was really powerful. But now that they've changed her character completely differently, she's still really powerful, just in a very different way, and it's weird. It's like they're mixing some of the older characters around quite a lot since the start of the game, and it's like, but somehow the game still hasn't lost its charm. It's like it seems like when they do choose to mess with it, they mess with it well enough that it's not that it feels the characters feel different enough, but they don't break the balance in any way. It's nice to see. Anyway, Overwatch is still good. I'm still surprised Zach's never opted in, because it is modern Team Fortress. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I mean, at the time you were waiting for more content, but that seems to have come at this point.
You could argue it's probably been the rollout has been slower than you might have hoped, but thinking about it now, it's like I think they've probably doubled the content since launch by now, and it's like over the course of 3 years. Okay, maybe that's not so bad actually. They've pulled it off eventually. When you look back on it, it just took them a little while to get going, I guess, on some of their content rollout. They haven't added that many new heroes compared to the number of levels. They've put more levels in than they have heroes, but that's fine. Oh, and I will say I played some free-for-all deathmatch because it's on their arcade lists at the moment. I think that game falls apart when you're not playing your role. As a free-for-all deathmatch, it kind of sucks. I don't know. I like doing my role. I like playing. I guess I'm more of a support player than I am anything else in Overwatch. But yeah, and when you strip it back to just deathmatch, it doesn't hang together quite so well. Anyway, that's pretty much me. Celeste.
Cool.
Celeste.
I finished Spider-Man.
Hey!
Well, the main story anyway. I didn't play any DLC.
Still, how do you think about that ending?
Rushed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit. Especially given the... I felt like the pacing of the game in general and the story and stuff was good. usually, all the way through. But then suddenly it seemed to sort of speed up quite a bit at the end for me. I don't know. I liked all the Sinister Six stuff, but then it was like, oh wait, no spoilers, but it's like final bosses, and then momentous things, and then boom, credits. I was like, oh, that seemed a bit rushed. I don't know how you felt.
I don't think it was super rushed, simply because the build up to that ending takes place over the entirety of the game.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
I suppose you don't have a huge amount of interaction with the end threat.
No,
in that form. I suppose.
No, not really.
I see what you mean. I'd like actually thinking about it, but like he does end up becoming a twist, almost like an extra ending.
Yeah,
more than anything.
Kind of, because
like you dealt with the bulk of what the most of the plot of the game is about, then it's like, oh ho ho, here's some more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I just think it was more about the yeah, I preferred it like in the middle than towards the end, but that's cool. I actually the like all the combat and stuff was still really good. In fact, I think it's one of those weird games that sort of gets easier rather than harder, because like even though the difficulty ramps up with the enemies, like you have so many moves and stuff that.
Yeah, I think when they introduced Sable, that was a definite spike for me.
Yeah,
Things got really tricky at that point, but then you learn to deal with it.
Yeah, once you can adapt to that.
And you probably could have dealt with it immediately had you learned that, or going into that knowing it already. Like you leveling up or you being more skillful wouldn't have really assisted all that much, because you had all the gear you needed to fight them well.
Pretty much, yeah. But it was fine. Well executed and stuff, and I think it wrapped up in a good way. I don't think it fully earned like what it was doing at the end there, but in some ways. But I preferred the rest of the game basically rather than the ending. But that's fine.
I think it's solid. Yeah. I think I go back to my original thoughts that I wish like that Sinister Six part wasn't. A, it wasn't in the trailers.
Yep, that was bad.
And B, probably should have happened a lot earlier in the storyline.
Yeah, it could have happened earlier, I think, and they could have, done a bit more there. It kind of the act structure, was kind of interesting. There was a long period in the middle where you're fighting the demon guys and stuff. And then, I suppose they were like normal guys, and then the demon guys, and then the Sable guys, or whatever. Like that made sense from the perspective of the open world
and then
game.
Sort of the prisoners,
of the prisoners. Yeah, but so that all worked fine. It's just that changed the pacing of the actual story. I felt like in order to spread out the game a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Like maybe they mapped the story beats to like, okay, this needs to go into these parts, and the city needs to evolve in this way.
Did you do a lot of the side content early then, like as well, like saying because I do wonder sometimes about when I worry about pacing of the ending being rushed and all that stuff. It's like, well, no, that's because I was spending so much time doing side quests in the mid portion of the game. Yeah,
that's probably true. Yeah, but I kind of wish like. It's one of those games where the open world evolves, and it's same kind of in Red Dead, that you might want to do those side things earlier because it's a bit more pleasant earlier on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true in Red Dead. It's true in various open world games, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. They're easier to pull off while the world is in a certain state.
Yeah, exactly.
Or more enjoyable while the world is in a certain state. And we go past a certain point, then it doesn't quite. Some of that stuff isn't quite as entertaining anymore.
Yeah, but they did do some of that stuff where they change a little bit in order to reflect what's going on in the world in a nice way. Yeah. And so the dialogue always works, and it isn't like, oh, you should have played this earlier or something like this. That was okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. I feel like and I might have probably mentioned this on the cast. I feel like I had one out of sequence. Yeah,
I think you did mention one thing. Yeah.
Event in the game, but one isn't bad.
No. Yeah, a really good game. I highly recommend Spider-Man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that's the main thing. and good quality. Like, it's not like Arkham Asylum level like of that was at the time. It's probably a better game to play now, but it's not quite as like good, for the time. Do you know what I mean? I think I know what you mean. Because it's
Arkham Asylum was kind of groundbreaking at the time.
Exactly.
It's like, here's how you do this sort of game in the modern era.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if Spider-Man has changed the landscape at all.
No,
it's just like it's just a very good one of those.
Really well done one of those, yeah. And also Batman, it's a bit unfair because Spider-Man is great and but like Batman just comes with so much atmosphere if you do it right. It's just dripping with atmosphere, the Gotham and all of that stuff. Spider-Man has to be a bit more breezy and quippy and Manhattan-y, so it's always going to have. I thought they captured the tone really, really well. While keeping the threat like serious-ish, although it kind of didn't quite fit. I have to admit that the actual like bioterror threat should have been more terrifying than it was. You know what I mean?
Because
because it's like, hang on a minute,
because even when things go bad in that storyline, they somehow don't go as bad as you think they.
Probably all that
should.
bad.
Yeah, there's definitely elements of that, but then it should have gone worse. It's like there should have almost been game could have ended there. Actually, when things get bad, and could have just been like, oh, we'll deal with that in the sequel.
The most
Spider-Man 2, The Division.
Yeah, exactly. Because the most like bleak part was that sort of bombing bit, like kind of not even midway through. Or like that sequence was quite was actually had quite a big impact. It's like, oh, shit's getting real, but then it didn't really stick with that. But
I can see where you come from on that stuff. It's like they do try and keep it a bit whimsical, and there's some content in the last episode of the DLC that I think I mentioned that does sort of bring back a bit more bite, and probably sets up some of where the sequel will go. Like, no, I'm not sure it'll be the main storyline, but it will be a storyline. And I think when they do try and do that stuff, they do it well, but perhaps they need to stick with it a bit more. Like, balance it out. Like, I think they can land the serious bits if they want to, but just don't be afraid of it quite so much.
Yeah.
As I say, you've got a ridiculous super weapon, bioterror weapon plot line.
Yeah.
Lean into it a bit more.
Take it seriously. Lean into it. Yeah, a little bit more. Cool. But really good game. Okay, and that's been me. What about Zachary Burgess?
Well, luckily, I guess I don't have much to talk about. Not that this podcast is long yet, but so we might come in under time for a change.
Nice.
Because as I said earlier on in the news segment, I haven't been playing Oxen Not Included because it didn't come out, which is very inconvenient because I precisely been playing that save file up to the point that I always get to where I just started the rocket program and everything, and I was like, this is a perfect time for me to stop playing this save file, and then the patch will come out, and then I can start over. But no, instead I've just not been playing it, which is disappointing. But that means, naturally, that what I have been playing is Factorio again. Because, I need one of these games, clearly.
No. I can safely say you don't.
But there's been a new mod that's been making the rounds in the YouTube Factorio scene, I guess. All the famous Factorio YouTubers came on to this mod. And it's kind of an interesting mod because it basically adds the end game that Factorio was meant to have, but then wasn't meant to have. Because there was a theoretical idea of the end game. Because at the moment you launch the rocket, the whole point of the game is to build the rocket. You launch the rocket, and that's it. You just win. It just brings up a score, essentially. Tells you how long you took and how much stuff you killed. It's like that's that. But at some point in development, there was theoretically meant to be a post-rocket stage where you'd launch into space and build on a space platform. And then you'd have to build it'd be kind of like C Block is. You'd be building a factory on a constrained amount of space with slightly different, mechanisms to the actual way the factory would work.
I can see why they might choose to remove that, though, because it's like a phase 2 and doesn't really rely on anything you've got elsewhere.
Yeah, kind of.
Or would you be building on both simultaneously?
Well, I mean, I guess we didn't really know how it was meant to be in this thing, because it got mentioned in like a blog post, a development blog post once or twice, and then it was basically shortly after that they said, like, no, that's not going to happen any longer. We're just going to finish the content that's already here, I guess, and then just release. But then again, they said that like that blog post must have been like 2 years ago at this point or something, right. And they're still not done with just releasing the damn game. So maybe they did need to not add all that extra content.
Yeah, it might have been the right call.
But yeah, so that was a thing that happened theoretically, but now this mod basically tries to make that real. So it basically does add back the end game space platform stuff and then some, because it's a mod called Space Exploration, which tells you what it does. You launch the rocket you have the standard Factorio rocket, which is now called the satellite rocket, which is for launching satellites. And then when you launch the satellite, it scans the surrounding area, and it's like, oh, there's a space platform that you could maybe go to, and a moon, and you could go into orbit around the star instead of one of the planets. And then, like, the more satellites you launch, the more other things it can discover in space. Initially, like, around the first star, but then you can discover other stars and other planets and other star systems, and then potentially eventually build a spaceship to travel between them. But then you also get the cargo rocket, which is a new kind of rocket for this mod, which allows you to actually launch materials into the different maps, basically. That's how essentially it's just a different map that you go to. And then you can also like automate the rockets by essentially building rocket launch pads that works kind of like a train station where you name it and then you can set a schedule and give the rockets conditions for launch, like how full is your cargo or whatever.
So you have done this multiple map thing then, so you need to be managing...
Yeah, so theoretically now you can actually have a multi-base on different planets that transports materials between them. And like the different planets have different conditions and different proportions of resources.
That kind of been easy to mod in, to have these...
Well, the thing is that like the sort of underlying framework of this idea of having multiple maps that you load into and can control remotely and stuff, that part of the implementation got put into the game for real as a groundwork for their version of the space platform that never came to pass. So it's like it exists, but it's not actually really used in the base game. But the modders can actually hook into it.
Yeah, that's intriguing.
So that's what this mod is. It basically is that original end game scenario, except then added a bit more. It also uses like the alien biomes mod, which adds a bunch of different. Well, it adds a bunch of different biomes, but it's more like just adds a bunch of different coloured grass and trees.
Right.
But that works for making different planets.
Are they sort of brown and purple?
Well, there's one which is just purple.
Okay.
But that's, it uses that mod to simulate different planets, where it's like, if you're on a moon, it's just using a grey, non-plant-based texture to make it look like a moon. And the different planets and different maps have different resource layouts and can, sometimes there can be no enemies or trees, or sometimes there's tons. And it also uses another mod called Robot Attrition, which makes it so that the environmental conditions of the planet can basically make your robots crash, which is not really fun. It's just a slight inconvenience.
Yeah, something you got to sort out.
Yeah, but I think my sort of problem with this mod, from my perspective, is it's clearly very designed for like the hardcore mega base building people, because obviously this mod basically doesn't start until you've finished the normal game.
Right.
You play the whole normal game.
You've still got to get through all of that, and then
obviously the whole point of everything increasing in price is like at that point, because the way I build bases in regular Factorio, I build them up to the point of launching the rocket, and I build bases that like will do like 1 science pack per second and can launch a rocket, but I'm not in the territory of like launching a rocket every minute or making 1,000 science pack a second, which some people do in the mega base scale sort of bases. So I've never really progressed any base to that point. So when I tried to design my normal base to launch a rocket, I was like, well, this can launch a rocket in a reasonable time frame. Like, it can get enough resources to make the rocket and fuel it and all that stuff. But it's clearly not sufficient to maintain several rockets or like constantly have to build new rockets or anything. It's like I haven't really got an idea of how to work at that scale, I guess, in regular Factorio. Like in C Block, I can totally manage it because I have the idea of making these. So then I was thinking about maybe I could basically use the same idea of C Block in regular Factorio, like make everything compartmentalized and only take in raw resources that you could deliver by train, and then have everything made from the starting point. Like, you don't try and make cogs and transport cogs around. Only transport iron plates and then have cogs made where they need to be made for each step of the process or something. But the trouble with that is that, like, the reason that works better in C Block is because there's no obstacle to doing it apart from building the land. Whereas in regular Factorio, you're like, oh, there's all these fucking enemies, there's trees, there's cliffs all over the place, there's water. So it's just like building a really big base in Factorio just sort of is inconvenient in itself. Unless there's sort of a difficulty spike almost. It's not really a difficulty spike. It's like a convenience spike where you have to really get to a certain point of automation and creating stuff fast enough that you can, once you have like the construction robots where you can just lay down factory automatically, if you've got everything, like all the factory buildings and all the belts and stuff made and in the logistics system so the robots can see it, so you can just basically just copy paste bits of your factory and the robots just do it automatically. So you don't have to worry about cliffs or anything. They just automatically get destroyed by the robots, and the robots can fill in the water and all that kind of stuff. You have to get to that point to really build that big, because otherwise you're just running around doing it all yourself, and that's just really inconvenient. But then there's that kind of jump in resources between regular Factorio base and having the ridiculous amount of resources you kind of need to be able to do that automatic massive expansion.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've got to the point where I theoretically could go to... I've launched satellite rockets. I haven't launched an actual cargo rocket yet. So I can see like it's weird, it kind of spawns like a starter space platform that's just like got a couple of solar panels on it and like a random radar. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can launch myself to that and then start building from there, theoretically. But I haven't built the cargo rocket yet, and I haven't sort of thought about what resources I need to bring with me, I guess. Because I'm like, I don't know how much construction I'm going to do on this first trip. I think you can just get back. This is another thing I'm just going to have to like save and try it and test, and then if it goes wrong I can just reload. But I'm pretty sure when you launch the rocket you get like a capsule that you can just use to go back to the nearest planet's surface. So theoretically, if I just launch up to the space platform, I can easily just go back to my factory if I leave something behind or whatever.
Keep you on the space elevator.
I don't know what the actual end game is. It doesn't seem to be anything more than cargo rockets in the tech tree that I can see. But then you build the spaceships, which are like you build them like tile by tile. So it's kind of like building an island in C Block or whatever. You're building a floor of a spaceship and then surrounding it by walls and then putting like engines and stuff in it. And then I'm not sure how that calculates how you can travel between the different locations or whatever, or whether those can carry cargo or be automated or anything. I don't really know. But yeah, it's quite end game stuff, and I've got to the point where I'm like, I've built this base that can make 1 or 2 rockets maybe, but if I wanted to, I can't really expand that base to sustain any more resources, so I'm going to have to either completely demolish that base and start over, which, you know, with robots isn't that much of a trouble apart from the design phase where you're just doing nothing for a long time and just making it. Or I could maybe just get away with launching myself to one of the other planets and starting basically from fresh on a different planet. So I wouldn't have to worry about demolishing all this crap that's going to get in the way and just take up a lot of time. I could just start with a clean slate, but have all my equipment. And maybe just build a totally new base that way. But the trouble is that because of the different resource values of the different planets, I'm like, these planets all have uneven resources, whereas obviously the starting planet has fairly even resource layouts. Where it's like I could go to this moon that has a primary resource of iron, because iron seems to be the thing that I'm running out of in my regular base, apart from oil, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just stop.
Is there a win condition in the end game?
I don't know. I don't think there is, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to tell just from the tech tree, really. Like, you can see what the last techs in the tech tree are, where it's like, oh, you upgrade your spaceships to be even more powerful, and you get antimatter, and then nothing. I don't know. I mean, it's not like the end game of Factorio is really the end. You launch that rocket, the score screen pops up, and then you just carry on. You just build more rockets. Really, the only end game of Factorio is how big do you want the numbers to be?
Right. Becomes a clicker.
How many rockets do you want to launch per second?
How do I automate the clicking of the rockets while I'm not there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they did make it in one of the not particularly recent patches, but they did make it so you can automate the rockets. You can just have them launch as soon as they're ready and have the satellite in, and they just go.
Okay. Why?
Well, in regular Factorio, no reason at all. I mean, you could say in regular Factorio, it's just because it's a resource sink. It's just a place to put resources so you can keep scaling up your factory to consume more resources.
Yeah. Use them all. Is there a point where you can run out of resources?
Well, I mean, the ore patches on the map and they run out.
Mm.
But the way it's scaled, where like the further away from the spawn point you get, the richer the resource patches are. So theoretically, as you use more resources, you can get more resources because you're using further away ore patches, which just have more resources. But I wouldn't say it's convenient, because again, you're having to deal with the map. You're having to build railways out to miles away from your base, and you're having to build like defenses around your mines to prevent the aliens from killing them, and all that kind of stuff. That's really where the like super late game dies in Factorio, where you're spending all your time just traveling a huge amount of distance just to place more mines, because your mines are running out, and all your mines are constantly running out, and you're just in a inconvenient race against time of trying to keep up with how much resources you're consuming. Your time is spent only building mines, and that's just not really very interesting.
Can you automate the mine laying process?
Well, I mean, with robots you can kind of, but you have to get the robots there. That's where there is a couple of mods that do like recursive blueprints and stuff, where like robots can build their own roboports and that kind of thing. So you can have it fully automatically lay down its own blueprint. But otherwise, when you get if you want to take robots to a place, you have to be able to place a roboport for the robots to be in. So theoretically, that would be the one thing that you would physically have to be there to place, and then you could just lay down a blueprint. But yeah, you would still need that one. There's that one step that requires physical person presence.
Anything else?
Not
just that?
Yeah, that was more or less it, I guess. I feel like that wasn't a whole 2 weeks, but I'm sure it was 1 week.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've forgotten something that I did play.
It's inevitable.
Yep. So what I also haven't been playing.
In not news.
Yep. I haven't been playing Cadence of Hyrule because that didn't come out this month.
Oh yeah, no, that didn't make the May. Did they always say May?
Well, they said spring.
Yeah, it's not spring anymore.
Well, the thing is, they said spring, and then it was in the May Nintendo newsletter, which I get emailed for some reason, as you do. It was in that, and it said coming soon, and you assume it was in the May newsletter. You're like, oh, it must be coming out in May then, right?
Maybe,
but apparently not. I think they've maybe confirmed a release date in June, sort of mid-June.
After the direct?
Yeah, I think it's going to be after the
E3.
Can
I just be like, and Cadence of Hyrule is available after the show.
Well, I mean, they could time it like that, but I don't know. But I saw a very brief new footage from some Japanese stream. It's like, oh, here's what the game actually looks like.
Oh, interesting. I haven't seen that.
It's kind of more zoomed out than you would think.
Oh, really?
Is the thing, because compared to the trailer,
right.
It's way more zoomed out. And you remember how in Necrodance you have the disco floor?
Yeah.
Well, now you kind of have that, but it's much more subtle. It's more like a transparent overlay or whatever, and it only like follows the character around. So there's like this small area of squares that follows your character around as you move.
Oh, interesting.
So it doesn't show it over the whole map the whole time.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but the rooms do see the. Well, I call them rooms, but it's more like screens, I guess, in a Zelda kind of way.
Right.
Where like the screens are quite big. It's more zoomed out than it appeared in that trailer. Okay. The first trailer.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yep, hopefully.
We'll see.
Hopefully quite soon.
Yeah. Some actual game hype, which is not really what this year has been filled with so far.
Well, we haven't got the E3 yet. But that's hype for not even this year, usually. Apart from Nintendo. Get hype for Animal Crossing and Pokemon.
I can't get hype for either of those. I like the idea of Pokemon, not actually playing it.
Get hype for hopefully a new Smash Brothers character being revealed.
God,
or teased, not actually going to come out anytime soon.
They really need to hurry this up, man. It's taken them too long to get these season pass characters out.
Especially considering they say they're meant to be done by February. All of the rest of the 4.
4 more, and they'll have 7 months to do them in. That means we should be seeing one really soon. Shadow Drop. Shadow Drop it.
Yes, they've secretly been working on them all this time, parallel to Joker.
Shadow Drop at E3.
They're going to have to at least say what character it is at E3.
Yeah.
They can't possibly not.
They've got to have something. That's a good little padder for the show.
Yeah, I mean, that too.
Good excuse to have a little bit of a smash plug. I don't suppose we'll see any more Mario Maker, do you reckon? It's
I'm sure they'll
show
it. Yeah, briefly.
Because when's that? That's not out that far away, is it?
It's June the something.
Oh, really?
I don't remember what the date is.
Oh, wow. That's a lot closer than I thought.
People have already played it, I think. Some preview events have been happening.
Cool. So, yeah, next podcast is going to be the fun one.
Next podcast is going to be the fun too.
Well, depends how we're doing it. Whether Dan wants us to subject the audience to...
Well, theoretically, depending on what actually happens, we might not have as many, we might not have as many podcasts, conferences / videos to talk about.
Well, missing Sony and EA.
Yeah.
They're still connected.
I don't know.
You haven't got the windows open. That's not helpful.
It's under everything else.
Apparently.
Yep.
Just muted.
No, yes.
There you go.
Well, I was on mute. Oh, no.
Apparently you were, yeah.
How'd that happen? Anyway.
Well, it didn't happen in the middle of anything, so we wouldn't have been able to tell.
So, yeah.
E3.
Yeah.
Yep, E3. It's coming.
Any predictions?
Prepare your butts. Well, I think we just already discussed Nintendo predictions.
Yeah.
We've very much covered all the things that they've got to show.
Well, we won't see Metroid Prime 4.
No. Well, unless we will.
I don't think we will.
No,
I don't think
we'll
even have a mention of it.
No, we won't see that. But maybe Animal Crossing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got to be mostly Animal Crossing, I would think.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
F-Zero will suddenly turn up.
Damn well better. Every year I'm going to have this hope.
Yep.
Every year.
You never know. This time could be this could be the year.
And then in Microsoft land, presumably we've got to see Halo Infinite, whatever the fuck that is.
Oh, really? Do you think?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I'm not sure either.
There's no way they would preview it in such a tiny way in the previous E3 and not.
Yeah, but they were like
E3.
engine demonstration last time, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But they've got to know what.
And look at what happened to Anthem. Like, they need to be cautious and not rush their destiny.
Oh, I know. I think Microsoft knows what they're doing when it comes to a bit more than EA do. Let's not.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's not taint them with that brush.
Fair.
Just I don't know. I think it might. I reckon Infinite they're holding back for as a next gen or cross gen release. So I don't know if showing it now makes a whole lot of sense when it's probably going to come out end of next year.
But what else are they going to show?
14 original games, supposedly, from Xbox Studios. The most ever first-party titles they've ever shown at a press conference, according to Phil Spencer.
Or so they say. They're going to somehow bring back Fable.
I mean, don't rule it out. Don't rule it out. They might. Because what was it? Was it Turn 10 that they had split into another? Who was it that split into another studio to work on something like that?
I don't know. It all got fucked up around that age.
I want to say it might have been one like. Oh no, it was Playground Games, the Forza Horizon studio. They got split into 2 studios, and one of them is working on something that's rumored to be Fable.
Even though that other Fable game got shut down.
Fable Legends, the asymmetric one. But, looking at the landscape of multiplayer games now and how many, just that might have been smart, actually. Like, there's no guarantee of success in that space.
It's another.
They were so far down the development hole, they might as well have just put it out.
That's what that was. I was trying. When you said an asymmetric game, I was like, "There's another one coming, isn't there?" It's that Predator game on PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
they're doing that. They're doing that asymmetric.
But that's made by the Friday the 13th guys, isn't it?
Yeah, which I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's basically the same thing.
Basically.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like any. It seems like games that they did show at last E3 that still aren't out. It just seems like they're just going to show them. Everyone's just going to show those again somehow. Yeah. It's just like what is the hype around this E3? There doesn't seem to be any hints of new stuff.
We might get a release date for Dying Light 2. There's some rumors throwing around that Evil Within 3 might be happening.
Okay.
Because at the very least, it's been a while since Evil Within 2, and that team has to have been working on something.
Presumably.
Control, we might get a little bit of a sneak peek at, because that's out very soon.
Maybe Nintendo will show Scalebound.
Maybe Nintendo will show Scalebound. Maybe that's secretly what Astral Chain is. Astral Chain is just a prequel to Scalebound. Yeah. Maybe
Nintendo will show Bayonetta 3.
Actually, that's a shout. It has been a while since that reveal. Since they told us they were working on it. Yeah, Bayonetta 3 is a good shout for this year.
Except I don't feel like that's an E3 game for showing.
Well, it's not a very Nintendo game for showing.
For start. I'm sure you'll say it's there in a montage.
I'm going to have a montage. We'll see Deus Ex Machina again. Because it's still not out.
I guess. Yeah, basically, Nintendo seems to be the one who has things that
Demon Ex Machina. Sorry, not Deus Ex.
Not Deus Ex. Nintendo seems to be the one who has things to potentially say about stuff. Whereas I don't feel like I know anything about what Microsoft and Sony are working on at all.
Let alone the other publishers.
Like EA or
so Bethesda
Ubisoft.
are going to show us some Doom.
I guess so.
We'll get some Doom Eternal.
They probably won't show us anything about all those other projects that are way far away. Starfield and the other Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls we definitely won't. Starfield has slightly more probability of being seen. Fallout 76 Season 2?
Probably not.
Lean into it. What's Square going to do? Square are going to do that Platinum game that they've got that we don't know anything about.
And hopefully 557 more.
I've heard rumors, or I've seen more to say, rumors flying about that I can't remember his name, but the guy behind Nier might have something to show. Or something to announce at least. That his team might be onto something. Presumably for Square. Well, Square will have some more Final Fantasy VII remake. We know that much.
Oh well, yeah. I guess they said.
They literally said.
But what that means?
Yeah. Well, maybe some more gameplay. Maybe the Tifa reveal.
Maybe Chocobo Racing. That's way later in that game.
Way later. Yeah, we won't see the hint of a Chocobo or Chocobo.
Like I don't even know what Ubisoft is going to show. You can't be making another Assassin's Creed already, can you? I mean, I guess you can.
I mean, yes, we'll see. Well, it's an off year. Watch Dogs 3. It'll be Watch Dogs 3. There might be some other celebrity getting on stage to talk about Beyond Good and Evil 2.
I think they've said that they're not going to show Beyond Good and Evil 2 at the show. They're doing
really?
like a separate stream for that for some reason.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. They'll open with Just Dance.
Well, you would assume so.
Because that thing will never stop. And then we've got the wild card, of course, that is the PC gaming show.
I still don't think that counts as a show.
Fair.
The wild card. PC Master Race.
We might see something. And then Devolver will do their weird thing.
That definitely doesn't count as a show. I mean, it's a show in the other definition of a show, but...
Yeah, it's going to be a slightly odd year. Maybe a slightly empty year.
Unless they're, unless the fact that we don't think there's anything means that there's going to be some big shit happening.
Well, I think there might be
big
some
drops.
stuff happening, but not for this year.
Well, no, but that's not what E3's for.
Yeah, there might be some big boom. Here you go. Here's what's coming.
You want something completely new, except no one makes new things anymore.
Space Channel 5, Episode 3.
Pikmin 4.
So
again, that's Nintendo. Nintendo ones with things to do.
I thought that had been heavily rumoured as well.
Well, I think what was heavily rumoured was they were going to release all 3 of the Pikmin games as a pack on Switch, right?
Oh, right, yes, that was the rumour. I remember now.
But I mean, if you're going to do that, use that as a teaser for Pikmin 4.
Street Fighter 6.
Man, yeah. Even just a generic game like that doesn't seem very likely.
Tekken 8. No, it's too soon. It's too soon.
No one shows those kind of fighting games any longer, really, do they? For some reason.
Well, we had fighters show up at E3.
I guess, but that's a bit more visually interesting to look at.
And Dragon Ball. We had Jump Force turn up last year. So, Friggin' Jump Force. That was at the Microsoft show, I think. Well, we get to find out we got to find out all this in like 10 days.
Yeah.
7 days.
Well,
Join us then, listeners.
Some of it happens this time next weekend. So,
slightly longer, and we'll be there commenting on all of that shizzle.
That shizzle, yes.
Indeed. We got any YouTube videos going up? Part 3 of Sonic Forces?
Yeah, that went up
Just
yesterday because I've been a little bit behind on it. And there is a part 4 to come as well. We've done 4 of these.
Oh dear.
Have mercy on us.
So enjoy.
And there's more to come as well.
Oh, well, theoretically, yes.
There's more than... there's more. We haven't recorded them yet, but there's more.
There will be more. Cool. So look out for that. And we'll be back with E3 thoughts next time on the podcast.
That's it. We're done. Go.
That's it.
Go.
Bye.
Pizza.